The heavens declare, July 5 to 9, after the close of many pagan spiritual festivals in July, and the world seemingly going back to normal, you can see in the heavens that the solar elliptical orbit places the sun in its highest circuit, with the angle of the sun's rays being almost vertical on Earth on the equator. Yet it is furthest removed from the Earth. This astronomical event of the Earth being furthest removed from the Sun is called Earth at aphelion. It occurs annually around July 3 to 7. The Sun furthest from the Earth is now closest to, or even in conjunction with, Sirius. Sirius is the brightest star in our heavens, in the firmament, and it reflects Jesus as Prince of Peace, as coming Redeemer, coming down quickly. And it is depicted often as a star sign of Canis Major or a big dog, but biblically it represents a different animal with a totally different underlying meaning. And this year, on July 5th and 6th, depending on your vantage point, the Earth is at aphelion, distance between the Earth and the Sun again at maximum. And its opposite happens early January, when the Earth reaches perihelion, or is closest to the Sun. The Moon, the bright type, is furthest removed from the Earth, and that is called at apogee. You can read more about that in the links. While Mercury, the messenger or chief speaker, is flanking the Sun and Moon in Gemini, Mercury is in the celestial silver gate. We're going to see that in the visuals a little bit later. Interestingly, the Giza pyramid is designed to match the Earth positioned at aphelion point. So this moment in time and this celestial lineup of the Earth and the Sun is really important. July 5-6, 2021. The occult celebration of their independence from God. So while we are seeing our redemption drawing nigh in the heavens, the Earth, under the leading of the satanic elite, is getting accustomed to what they call the new normal. And meanwhile, they are celebrating all kinds of rituals worldwide. One of them being Independence Day. And on the calendar, it's behind us, but celestially, it is still taking place. Because to the occult, the Earth's aphelion point, that is the spiritual high point of their year. It marks them distancing themselves in their perception from the Lord Jesus Christ, the Son of God, and spiritual bridegroom. Being as far away as possible is a reason for celebration. It marks their Independence Day from God. And you can read more about that over here. The Masonic founding fathers of the U.S. picked July 4th at the time to celebrate as their spiritual Independence Day. And at that time, the Earth was at aphelion. So they didn't celebrate being freed from royal monarch rule, because the surface reasoning was given to the uninitiated that was taking place. And we know now, in hindsight, that many of the ties remained firmly lit underground and hidden in plain sight in all kinds of policy connections, the Magna Carta being one, but also through international banking schemes and especially the occult brother and sisterhoods. They celebrated a hidden festival of sun worship as well as Sirius worship, of course not as in the identity of Jesus, but the identity of the Antichrist. And through many satanic midsummer feasts, and you can read about that over here, they were celebrating their Antichrist figure. The documents also speak of the 4th of July being heavily marked with satanic rituals throughout the ages, and that is underpinning why many watchmen expectancy of sudden destruction was connected to July the 4th. But as the overarching celestial markers and their correlation to both the Egyptian pyramids and important landmarks such as the Dendera temple, the temple dedicated to the goddess Hathor, and centered around the star Sirius, the sudden destruction picture is still in the enemy's playbook. And I'm mentioning it so we are aware of what I believe needs to be uncovered, but we also remain watchful and vigilant. And as the aphelion point of the Earth fluctuates each year, note that this year on July 5th, it took place from Washington yesterday, and on July 6th, today, it takes place in Giza. You can see the visuals over here. The Sun Sirius pulse, which is the closest approach, is on July 6th this year as well. So we can read in the linked article over here how the US, the Stars and Stripes flag, is adopted by secret societies to literally represent that temple of Hathor in Dendera. So the Stars and Stripes design is a copy of a depiction of the inner wall of the Dendera temple. And they've done so for ritualistic reasons. They tie the yearly momentum of the earth being furthest removed from the sun and the visual arrival of the morning star, to which end this temple was designed. The so-called heliacal rising, or first visibility of the star Sirius before sunrise, that takes place a little bit later. In this year, it takes place in the beginning of August. That was captured on an inner wall of the Dendera temple. That was a unique yearly event which in ancient times took place around the summer solstice. Currently, because of the precession of the equinoxes, the sun shifting through the constellations over time, the heliacal rising of Sirius, the first rising before the sun, takes place early August. So remember, in the last video series, we shared the midsummer marker, the solstice, as a summer door, and I refer to the dog days of summer as being the next summer door. Well, the dog days of summer have just started, and they led up to that heliacal rising in ancient days, and that was their celestial and agricultural New Year's celebration. And the first visible rising of the star Sirius, that marked their New Year's celebration and the yearly inundation due to the Nile flooding its banks. That was a long-awaited blessing because their agricultural society was totally dependent upon the flooding of the Nile. And over here, if you read the article, you can read how these celebrations were held and that the statue of Hathor was adorned with a diamond capturing that light of Sirius, and it was lifted onto the roof of the temple to capture that light. So they considered it a union or a marriage of their two false gods. But there is hidden truth, biblical meaning underneath the identity of both Sirius and the sun coming together. As a mirror of this pagan ritual, though its origin and spiritual affiliations are not made known to the public, the 4th of July celebrations in the USA emulate this ancient pagan ritual, spiritually usurping and covering the true identity of the solar bridegroom and Sirius the Redeemer, the coming prince. They are announcing their forthcoming arrival. The nation of the US is decked with stars and stripes, and as it were, it becomes an open-air temple, a replica of the Temple of Dendera. And the Statue of Liberty performs the role of that Hathor goddess, referring to Isis, the goddess Isis, just like Hathor did in Dendera. And then the unsuspecting participants of this nationwide solar and Sirius ritual, they join in en masse, and they subconsciously or maybe knowingly participate in ritual dancing, eating, singing, watching fireworks, and especially these fireworks have deep ritual meaning as well. At the end of the article, there are many links to studies and documents with regard to Sirius where you can read more about the connection between Egypt and the US, the 4th of July celebrations, and what and who they are worshiping for what reason. So the Independence Day celebration is time-stamped on July 5 and 6 this year. The Earth being at aphelion in Washington, July 5th, furthest removed from the Sun. The perihelion is the closest, the aphelion the furthest, and this is the Earth at aphelion today in Giza. So Sirius is a key player in Masonic doctrine. There are two pillars, the Sun and the Moon, and then Sirius in between. We're going to see this lineup in the heavens at the end of this week. The blazing star Sirius is revered by them as an Antichrist figure and a gateway to the heavens. This is what is blazing behind the missing capstone as well of their false pyramid. And the Freedom Tower has been designed where its spire connects with Sirius on December 26th, on Christmas. So this is the original of the Stars and Stripes in the Dendera Temple. And here it is flipped horizontally, so you can see the resemblance to the Stars and Stripes flag of the US. July 9th, the bride and groom meet in Gemini, aligning with the Prince of Peace Sirius and matching Giza's internal structure. So I'm going to show you an overlay of the heavens and the Giza pyramid. We're going to see that these main players are aligning vertically with the inner structure of the Giza pyramids. Meanwhile, let's remember the Swedish boys' vision of a Friday gathering at Giza, the mount, the snow-capped mount, and a period of final warnings of 2 days, and then a Sunday bridal first fruits rapture. And we have another marking in the scriptures in 1 Samuel 18 to 20 of David, which is another bride type, being gone from the enemy's table at a certain new moon celebration. And he has parted ways with Jonathan, who is still aligned with the Antichrist type Saul, and coming to awareness of the true intent of the hidden agenda of the Antichrist figure. And it involves a piercing weapon, in that case a javelin. And in the article you can read how the javelin and the needles people are now subject to, how they are connected both in nature but also in language. So we have a double reminder of a Friday gathering and then a Sunday departure. But also in the book of Amos, Amos 7 and 8, it speaks of post-new moon judgment patterns. And Pentecost fully comes into play. We covered that last year as well. But also the new wine festival, which is still commemorated by the Essenes on their calendar. That is the first wine, the vintage wine, the sparkling wine, and that corresponds with the current state of the grape harvest. So this prophetic convergence, everything coming together, and a post-new moon judgment scenario. Last year, this was marked out by the comet Neowise. So that trajectory of that comet, if you track it back, and I linked an article I wrote about that last year, we can see that that comet mapped out this entire scenario. So below we can witness how the moon, a bridal emanation, will arrive in the bridal portion of Gemini, July 9th. And that is from the vantage point of Giza. She will flank the sun in Gemini's left place bridegroom figure, while Sirius, the brightest star in Canis Major and celestial marker for the Prince of Peace, coming down swiftly, not as a dog but as a hawk, aligns vertically with the moon at meridian. That is about noontime. This is the first momentum. We're going to see two becoming one. The meridian alignment of Sirius and the moon. The moon is going to line up with Gemini star Mepsuda, a Hebrew name meaning treading underfoot, speaking of the moon being an overcomer by the Spirit and the Word. And by evening time, the moon will have reached her darkest phase. She's going to be completely lost in the sun's glare, having become one with the sun.